And this book, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it is hudal lil muttaqeen. It is a guidance. It is a guidance for who? For those people who have taqwa. Muttaqeen is a plural of muttaqi. And muttaqi is one who has taqwa. It's from the root letters waw, qaf, ya. Waw, qaf, ya. You don't see the waw, but as I told you earlier that there are some letters that are part of the root, but you don't always see them. Why? Inshallah you will learn about that as well. So it's from the root letters waw, qaf, ya. And wiqaya is to save yourself, to take a shield, to protect yourself. Who is muttaqi? Muttaqi is someone who has taken a shield in order to protect himself, in order to save himself from something that is dangerous, from something that is harmful. You understand who a muttaqi is? Who is muttaqi? Someone who has taken a shield in order to protect himself. For example, if you go to Hajj, you go to Umrah. Let's say you go to Umrah in the month of Ramadan. Thousands of people, hundreds and thousands of people. You can imagine if one person catches a cold, if one person catches a viral infection, what's going to happen? Is it going to stay with him? It's going to spread everywhere. Now if you want to protect yourself, then what are you going to do? Before going, you might take a flu shot. When you go there, you might become very, very careful with how you interact with other people. For example, you keep washing your hands. When you eat something, you make sure it's not contaminated. You become extremely careful in where you sit, who you sit next to. For example, if a person is coughing a lot, sneezing a lot, you don't go near them. Why? Because you're afraid. I spent all that money so that I can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I cannot afford to get sick. So you become careful. Similarly, if a person has some food allergy or some food sensitivity, they cannot have certain foods. If they have them, they can cause a lot of harm to their body. So they become extremely careful about what they eat. Isn't it so? They become extremely careful about what they eat. They check all the ingredients. They go to somebody's house, they ask them, did you put any nuts in this? Did you put any dairy in this? If you did, I cannot have it because I'm allergic to such and such. My child is allergic to such and such, I cannot have it. A person becomes extremely careful. So muttaqi is who? Someone who is very careful. Now okay, there's a person who is trying to protect himself because he has a food allergy. There's another person who wants to protect himself because there's a viral infection going on. Now this person muttaqi, what is he trying to save himself from? Muttaqi is a person who is trying to save himself from the punishment of Allah. From loss, from failure, from punishment in the hereafter. So if a person wants to save himself from the punishment in the hereafter, he will become careful. How? In the way that he lives in this dunya. In the way that he behaves in this dunya. How will he become careful? In what way? That first of all, he will do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded. Because when a person does what Allah has commanded, then that is a means of protection from punishment. And secondly, he will stay away from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden. Because if he commits the forbidden, then what's going to happen? He is guilty. When he's guilty, he's deserving of punishment. So who is muttaqi? What's the definition of muttaqi? The one who has taken shield, protection from what? The punishment of Allah. How? By doing what Allah has commanded and staying away from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden. So over here Allah says, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ, this Quran is a book in which there is no doubt, but this Quran is a guidance for who? Al-Muttaqeen. In Surah Al-Fatiha, we made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, اهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ, guide us to the straight way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows His guidance over here. Where is guidance? Where is it contained? In this book of Allah. If you want guidance, yes, you make dua for it, but you also put in effort for it. In order to attain guidance, what do you have to do? Study the book of Allah. But in order to benefit from the book of Allah, what do you have to do? You have to have this quality of taqwa. Because Allah says, هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This also shows to us that the purpose of this book is what? To show guidance. The purpose of this book is not just to impart knowledge, impart information. If you want information, you can get it from many, many sources. But if you want guidance, you get it from the Quran. However, this guidance is not received by everyone who studies this book. Everyone who reads this book. Who can receive guidance from this book? The person who has taqwa. This is very similar to how Merely reading a book on time management does not make you efficient in managing your time. Merely reading a book on healthy eating does not make you a person who is healthy. Isn't it so? Merely reading a book on writing well does not make you an excellent writer. First step is that you read the book. But along with reading the book, you have to do certain things. If you don't do those certain things, then reading that book was useless. It will not bring you any benefit at all.
ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين